Joy perpetuates lie about Bernie Sanders on guns, again. So in the wake of that shooting, Joy Reid replied to a tweet and agreed with it about Bernie Sanders and his terrible record on guns. And specifically, three different issues where the tweeter that Joy Reid retweeted lied about Bernie's record on guns, and I corrected that in the video. So here's the first comment. From Scorpio. It's almost like the reason Joy Reid and the neoliberal left in general make up these preposterous claims against Bernie is because they can't argue against his policies based on evidence, reasoning, and data. The evidence shows that his policies are just superior to theirs. So instead, they just lie and smear. So I think this was one of the top comments on the video, and I completely agree with it. Because they can't actually discredit Bernie's policies, they have to go towards lying and making things up and misconstruing history and focusing on little things and trying to blow them up into big things. Whereas it's not all that hard to try and discredit Hillary Clinton's record on a number of things, because she has a history of switching votes, of doing the wrong thing, and supporting neoliberal policies that have ended up affecting people in negative ways. Whereas Bernie Sanders has been consistent on his history supporting progressive policies, a lot of them without the support of others in Congress. But he's been consistent on it, and he's been right about it. So they're forced to smear, and unfortunately, a lot of these people that do smear, like Joy Reid, have a platform. Next comment. From Bill H. The argument about suing gun manufacturers you made is more like a straw man. Guns are specifically made to kill, not to protect, not to drive someone from point A to point B. Okay, so just a brief explanation of what he's talking about. In the video, I made this comment about how gun manufacturers shouldn't be able to be sued for misuse of a handgun, because if I kill somebody with my car, it wouldn't make sense for the family of that person to then sue Ford because I used a Ford to kill that person. So the responsibility falls on the person who used either that car or a weapon. And he's saying that I made a straw man argument because guns are made to shoot people, whereas cars are made to drive from point A to point B. Well then, I bring another example up. Pepper spray. If somebody uses pepper spray and it hits an innocent person, should that innocent person now be able to go and sue the pepper spray company? Does that make sense? Because I don't think you should be able to sue the pepper spray company for misuse of the pepper spray. So if something is going to be legal, then it's legal. And however somebody uses that product shouldn't fall on the shoulders of the manufacturer who is just making a legal product. Now, I'm totally for gun control. I would love it if the US tried to ban guns and do a gun buyback program. Now, I'm sure a lot of you disagree with me there, but I'm telling you, I'm for gun control. But that doesn't mean that you should now be able to sue gun manufacturers for a legal product. It's either legal or it's illegal. So I may have not used the best example in that video, but I think pepper spray is a perfect example. And when you use that in place of guns, suddenly it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Next comment. So this one's a little long and it has some grammar issues, but let's try to get through it. From Justin B. This is a little hypocritical when you called out Bernie for his response to the Las Vegas shooting and gave credit to Clinton's response in your last video. So you can be critical of Bernie's response about guns, but Joy can't? Not that I want to defend Joy Reid. She is an establishment shill after all. I just think you should try looking in the mirror. Similarly, you are practically a Bernie bot. Your defense of Bernie is bordering on politician worship. So there's actually more from this commenter that I'm going to get to after I just respond quickly to these points. So in my gun video, my initial Las Vegas reaction video, I showed a tweet from Bernie that I didn't think was the proper response, and then I showed a Clinton tweet that I agreed with more. So that's what he's referring to when I said I called out Bernie for his response to Las Vegas and then gave credit to Clinton. Yeah, I did that. But then he goes, so you can be critical of Bernie's response about guns, but Joy can't? So Joy Reid perpetuated lies about Bernie's stance on guns. I simply showed a tweet from Bernie that me, a person with an opinion, I subjectively, as my opinion, disagreed with how Bernie initially responded to the shooting on Twitter. And then he tweeted more about it, and it was stuff that, it was a better response afterwards. But his initial response, he essentially sent his thoughts and prayers, or his thoughts. So I think that's just a dumb response. I don't think it means anything anymore. I don't think it's worth even sending. That's why I disagree with it. Now, how does that compare to Joy Reid retweeting lies about Bernie's record? So these aren't the same thing. Joy Reid is not giving her opinion here. She is retweeting a lie. I mean, hopefully that's not hard to understand, but this guy had a problem with it. Now, just a bit more from him, because he sent another reply. So let me read a bit of this. Please, you are not so different from Joy Reid. The only difference is that you're for Team Bernie, while she is for Team Hillary. Both of you use facts to paint these narratives, which suggests that you are both little more than talking bobbleheads for your respective teams. Okay, so this person goes on to say more. There's a lot of just regurgitating the same points. If you want to think I'm just a Bernie bot, cool. Bye. Stop watching. I think if you watch enough of my videos, you know that I push policy. I'm concerned about the policy. Bernie, for me, and for, I would say, most people that support Bernie, Bernie is a symbol of progressive politics, because he's somebody that has pushed these same policies his entire career. He has a history of fighting for them. So he's seen as a symbol of that, an honest symbol, because he actually honestly pushes these policies because he cares about people. That doesn't mean that that everything begins and ends with Bernie. It's about the policies. So if you watch enough of my videos, I hope that becomes clear. But that's what it's about for me. At the same time, yeah, I think Bernie's great. Is that a problem? So I use facts to back up my arguments. If I'm wrong, and sometimes I'm wrong, I'm sure, then in these sorts of videos and on Twitter, I'll say it. But for the most part, I think I'm pretty consistent in terms of how I get my information, where I get it from, what I discuss. And I'm also specific when I talk about, hey, this is my opinion, or versus, hey, these are the facts on this issue. So you either agree with me or you don't, but well, whatever. Next video. Randall Woodfin's shocking win. So this video was about Randall Woodfin, who was a mayoral candidate in Birmingham, Alabama, and is a progressive and ended up winning in a big way the election to become mayor. So this is the first comment. From Ampules1. Woodfin isn't a true progressive. He would have supported Bernie if he was. So I just disagree with this. So Nina Turner supported Hillary Clinton in the primaries before she came out and supported Bernie Sanders. I think it's totally okay for people to have these previous connections to politicians that we may not agree with, and then evolve and learn and change. So Randall Woodfin was backed by Our Revolution, which is Nina Turner's big progressive group, and the Working Families Party, another group that seems to be largely backing more progressive candidates. And Randall Woodfin himself, his policies, I went through them in the video. They are very progressive. So to just base a politician on their previous job. So Randall Woodfin had run the campaign for Hillary Clinton in Alabama. Now, let's say during the race, so before Bernie even got in the race, everyone knew Hillary was going to run. Nobody really even knew Bernie Sanders. Bernie closed, I think it was a 60-point, he was 60 points behind in the polls on Hillary Clinton. Made that up over the course of his campaign. But you can't fault somebody for starting in 2015 as running Hillary Clinton's campaign in the state, only to find out that, you know what, Bernie Sanders is a better progressive candidate. But at that point, Randall Woodfin was already deep in his job, and people relied on him to continue that position. Now, I get it. Some of you may think, I don't care. He should have dropped out if he supported Bernie Sanders and blah, blah, blah. Okay, you can have that position. I'm concerned about the policies. If Randall Woodfin brings the policies like he did in his campaign, that's what I'm concerned about. And then you can hold his feet to the fire on those policies once he's actually in office and running things. But to just pass somebody off as a sellout or whatever because they supported Hillary Clinton at one point, I think is wrong. Next comment from Patricia Leary. What policies does Woodfin support? Well, since he backed and campaigned for Hillary in the primary, it seems reasonable to assume that he's for fracking, taking bribes, endless wars, war crimes, Palestinian genocide, a $12 minimum wage, and a corrupt and broken healthcare system. No matter what candidates say, it's what they do that matters. And Woodfin campaigned for an entitled, corrupted, psychopathic monster. Am I missing something? And yes, a lot of people are tainted for endorsing Hillary early. They'll never get my vote. Never. So, another person I just completely disagree with. Bernie Sanders campaigned for Hillary. So, are you never going to vote for Bernie Sanders because he thought that Hillary was a better choice over Donald Trump? And I already mentioned Nina Turner. Again, somebody who is clearly a leader in the progressive movement. Is that somebody you would never vote for because she supported Hillary Clinton back in the summer of 2015? I'm just saying, if that's your standard, then I guess you're not going to be voting very often because it kind of cuts down on your options. There are people that can learn and change and evolve. And if they present the policies, which he did, I'm not sure if you watched the video, because in the video I discussed how no, in fact, he doesn't support a $12 minimum wage. He supports $15 minimum wage, and he in his platform, he plans to fight the state on that so that Birmingham can actually adopt a higher minimum wage that they had already passed, but then the state blocked them. So look at the policies. Look at the policies. And then if they fail on those policies, then don't vote for them next time. Simple as that. All right, next video, which is also the last video. Please shoot another unarmed black man from behind. So the title's kind of self-explanatory. This was a video that I think came out on Thursday evening, and it shows police shooting another black man from behind as he escapes his arrest. Just as he's about to be handcuffed, he starts running away, and instead of chasing after him, they shoot him in the back. And then he dies later on in hospital. So I did a video on that. Here is the first comment from Vote Green. Cops don't run anymore. They point and shoot. Point and shoot, point and shoot. Cops are murderers. So I kind of already just covered this, but yeah. And it's something that, it's interesting. So I watch a lot of cop shows. So I like to go back and watch episodes of Law and Order from the 90s because I grew up in the 90s. I have some nostalgia for that show, and I still enjoy it. And when a suspect starts running in those shows, I can't even imagine what would happen if one of the cops pulled out their guns and started shooting the guy running away. That would be the entire episode. They would be discussing. Actually, it may have happened in Law and Order. I think that may be an episode where some guy runs away and then he gets shot. Then the whole episode is about, was this guy armed? Were you actually afraid for your life? Or did you just shoot him because he was running away from you? That is totally an episode. I'm remembering it right now. It may be from like the first or second season. But yeah, that the cops are supposed to run after you. They're supposed to... Aren't cops supposed to be athletic? The guy in the video was a 50-year-old man. Now, I'm not saying 50-year-old men can't run, but this guy didn't look like he would have beaten them in a foot chase. And there was like 4 or 5 or 6 of these cops. One of them could have chased him and tackled him, but they shot him instead. Next comment from David Richardson. Libertarians and small government conservatives should be very much concerned about this abuse of government power. Totally. And you know what? They're not. Libertarians will talk your ear off about Milo should be able to speak at a college campus. But when it comes to police overreach, killing people, remember, the police they're employees of the government. They're tax funded. Your tax money pays for the police officers. And the police are clearly overreaching in many of these cases. And it's an abuse of power. But libertarians who are all about getting the government out of their lives aren't too concerned about that, apparently. So it's really interesting how they're so focused on certain issues but not other ones. Last comment from Jacques Lewis. I'm noticing that you're really passionate about one black man, David. But when you discussed the Vegas shootings, you were quite intellectual about the whole affair. Is it possible that you don't care about a bunch of dead whites at a country music festival? Again, your hypocrisy is noteworthy. The police shoot blacks and whites. In fact, more white men are shot dead by police every year. So that's a stat they love to throw out, that whites are shot more by the police than black people. Well, it's interesting because white people make up 74% of the American population. Black people make up 13%. So I would hope that this doesn't disproportionately affect black people so much that it gets over this huge disparity in the population. Now, when you actually look at facts that you can properly compare, the rate at which people are shot, which I explained in that video, black people are killed by police at almost 3 times the rate as white people. And comparing the passion of my video in the Vegas shooting versus the police shooting, I'm not sure what you're trying to get at there. So they are 2 very different situations. The Vegas shooting was done by one random guy, whereas the police shooting was done by a cop, somebody who is supposed to serve and protect. That's their job. And this cop shooting is a pattern in this behavior that's been going on within various police departments within the US. So they're 2 very different issues. One really comes down to gun control, and you could say mental health. And the other one comes down to police use of force and the disparity between how they use that force on black people versus other races. So yeah, maybe you think I'm more intellectual about this shooting or the other shooting. I don't even know. So I'm more intellectual about the Vegas shooting. I don't even know what you're talking about. So I thought I made intellectual arguments in both. Maybe it's just the way you're seeing things. And it's funny because this person followed this up with this comment. Here's the bottom line. I've never met another libertarian on this channel. I am a lone wolf in this echo chamber called the Rational National. Hold up. You're a libertarian? Then why aren't you concerned about this use of force by the police? Aren't you worried how cops are using your taxpayer dollars to kill unarmed people as they're running away? Doesn't that concern you? I thought you're about reeling in the government, being concerned about how your tax money is being used. Oh, but I guess, it's a black guy, so it's okay. Doesn't affect you. It doesn't matter. He deserved it. He ran off. It's okay. He was running away. He was a bad guy anyways. He had some warrants on him. It's okay to shoot him in the back. That's what you want your government doing. I think you need to re-examine what it means to be a libertarian and what you're actually concerned about. And maybe you should look at what your bias is, because you don't appear to be very principled in how you apply your libertarian ideology. And there we go. The end of the video. This is a long one. Woo! Okay, so just one last thing, reminder, new video up on patreon.com/therationalnational. You can also just go to therationalnational.com/join and you get to the same place. Yeah, so I got a video up there. My first reaction to the Hillary Clinton thank you note video that I was going to tell you how I feel about it, but no, you got to watch it. Sorry, you got to go there and watch it. For $3 plus patrons only, they got all the extra video content. And yeah, I guess that's about it. So thanks for watching. Let me know if any of these comments stood out to you, what you'd like to see in future videos, what else you want me to cover, or just maybe you hate me, maybe you love me. Let me know below. Thanks. Later.